The questions and answers in this episode come directly from the official U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services, the USCIS Civics test study materials. We've done our best to present them accurately and in context, but this podcast is for educational purposes only. If you have specific legal questions or unique circumstances about your citizenship application, it's always a good idea to seek guidance from a qualified immigration attorney or accredited representative. Your journey is important. Make sure you have the right support every step of the way. Welcome to Becoming American Staying You. I'm Jessica, here to help you prepare for the U.S. citizenship test without leaving your story behind. Today, we're talking about the chain of command in the executive branch, and we'll make sure that you know the two main political parties here in the U.S. The civics questions covered today will be, if the president can no longer serve, who becomes president? If both the president and the vice president can no longer serve, then who becomes president? Who is commander-in-chief of the military? Who signs bills to become laws? And who vetoes bills? Finally, what are the two major political parties in the United States? Let's get going. And before we go too much farther, if you can hear some tapping in the background, I apologize. That is the sound of American entrepreneurship happening in my garage. But, hey, go get them, everybody. All right, let's get in with today's answers. If the president can no longer serve, who becomes the president? That will be the vice president. If both the president and vice president can no longer serve, then who becomes president? That would then be the Speaker of the House of Representatives. Who is commander-in-chief of the military? That is the president, whoever happens to be sitting in that position. Who signs bills to become laws? The president. Who vetoes bills? I'll give you one guess. The president. Good job. All right, the two major political parties in the United States are the Democratic and the Republican parties. All right, let's get into some context around these questions. Hi, everybody. Happy Sunday, or whatever day it is that you're listening to this. Thank you so much for being with us. And I've seen a couple of your comments. I can't tell you how over the moon I am to hear and see, I guess, that there's some people engaging with the content, and that just makes me so happy. So I am totally motivated to keep making more of these, knowing that people are watching these. So comment, and I will make sure that we keep going with this. Also, if you have other ideas that would make it more engaging or more fun to study, let me know. I just want to see you guys be successful. So let's go. All right. So context for today's questions. The president is our commander-in-chief of the military, meaning that the president leads the armed forces. Whatever he says goes when it comes to, the Army, the Navy, the Marines, the Coast Guard, and the Space Force, right? Our president signs bills into laws, and that's after Congress has passed them. And we talked about that in the last few episodes about how that happens. But the president still has to agree to what Congress has decided to suggest. And once everybody agrees, then it becomes the law. It's another one of our checks and balances. Our president can also veto a bill. So if Congress brings him something, or her, maybe someday, that the president just does not like, they can veto it and say, no way, this isn't happening. But then it gets sent back to Congress, and it can get revised and then go back to the president and have and then be approved maybe. Or if it can be sent back to Congress, and if Congress agrees by 2/3 of a vote, then they can override that veto and make it happen anyway. And again, that's another checks and balances that really helps us put into action what needs to happen at any given time. All right. If the president can't serve, then the vice president will take over. Okay. And then if both the president and the vice president can't serve, the next in line is the Speaker of the House. And understanding this leadership succession really helps prevent confusion in times of crisis. Here in the United States, there is a plan of action if anything were to go wrong. We always have someone ready to make sure that we have a leader, and somebody who can order the military to do what needs to happen. And nobody wants to think about that, right? But, it could happen. Moving on, I'd like to say to something a little less dramatic, but lately it hasn't been. The two main political parties are the Democratic Party and the Republican Party. And we talked about this a little bit earlier when we were talking about voting for your representatives and things you can do to actively be involved within the process of, just being an involved citizen. Each political party has some stated values, essentially, like a mission statement or, hey, if you vote for us, you can expect X, Y, and Z. Knowing who you're voting for, knowing what party they're behind kind of helps you understand what values that person will tend to uphold when it comes to voting for new laws, new bills, new policies, and things like that. Let's do a little reflection. So, hey, let's talk about a couple issues. And, since we've been together for like 6 whole episodes now, I would really love to hear about your past experience. And if it so interests you, like I would be so honored if you would pick one of these questions or something just to kind of chat about and tell me about your experience in the comments. And I'm just going to go ahead and put it out there right now. I'm not asking anyone to put comments to anybody else's comments. Let everybody share their own story and let's honor that. And, be respectful. If you're being snarky in the comments, you're not welcome here. Okay. So be a nice, kind person. But I would love to hear if you have any stories about this, because this could be really impactful, right? So back in your home country, hey, was there ever a situation where you had a national leader pass away or step down or be removed from power? And when that happened, was there a clear plan? I'm sure it was scary, but was it a peaceful process or did it get really chaotic? In the US, if the president can't serve, the vice president automatically steps in. And like we talked about, if both the president and vice president are unable to serve, then the Speaker of the House becomes president. And this order is written into our laws. It protects our country from crisis and it keeps our government running smoothly. Okay. And how about this again in the comments if you feel so inclined? Did your home country have many political parties, or was it just one party that held all the power? Are your elections fair, or did you feel that they were fair? Did the parties reflect real choices or just different faces who represented the same system, right? Here in the US, we have two major political parties, the Republican and the Democratic, and many voters, frankly, who don't belong to either. You don't have to agree with everything that one party says. It's, you have to register as something, right? And depending on your state, that affects what elections, like who you're able to vote for in elections. So you have your main election. In the main election, you can vote for anybody who's on the ballot. But before the main election, there's something called a primary election. And at least here in the state of California, in the primary election, you can only vote for the people who are in your political party, and you'll select your political party when you register to vote. So during that primary election, say if you are registered as a Democrat, you're only going to see the candidates for the Democratic nominations. And then you pick your pick for that. Or same with if you're a Republican, you will only see the Republican names on your ballot, and you have to pick like which person you want to be on the main ballot for the real election or the final election, I guess. And so you have to, that's where being aligned with a political party gives you one more option to be involved with the process. Now, again, for the final election, you can vote for like both parties will be on, and you could choose Democratic or Republican, and it doesn't matter. And like I said, you're not going to agree probably with every single thing in your political party, but you're going to want to choose the one that aligns most with your personal values. You can vote for candidates. You can vote for the issue that the candidates are standing for. You can be voting for the idealism that that party kind of holds. And frankly, when your side loses, and it happens to both sides all the time, when your side loses, it's not the end of the world. You hang out for 4 years, you use your right to speak, and there's maybe even protest, but mostly vote. And when it's time, you vote again, and the change that needs to happen happens. And that's how we keep it peaceful. And that's the important part. We keep things peaceful and we keep moving. When you get here, right? Once you're part of the US team, keep your memories, right? And bring them with you of what worked and what didn't work in your home country. Use that wisdom to become the kind of voter who understands the stakes and values every transition of power. All right, it is time for our rapid review. Let's do this quick recap. All righty, if the president can no longer serve, who becomes president? The vice president will step in. If both the president and vice president can no longer serve, the Speaker of the House will step in. The commander-in-chief of the military is the president. The vetoer or signer of bills is also the president. And the two major political parties are Republican and Democrat. All right, very good. That's a wrap on episode 6 of Becoming American Staying You. Share this episode with a friend, and remember, voting is your power. It's your superpower, and knowing the rules make you stronger. All right, anybody who wants to stick around and do an episode 1 through 5 review, here we go. All the way back to episode 1. What is the supreme law of the land? The Constitution. What does that Constitution do? It sets up our government. The idea of self-government is in the first 3 words of the Constitution. What are these words? We the people. What is an amendment? An amendment is the change to the wording of the Constitution. And what do we call the first 10 amendments to the Constitution? The Bill of Rights. What is one right or freedom from the First Amendment? There's lots. But today I feel like going with freedom of speech. There are 4 amendments to the Constitution about who can vote. Describe one of them. Fabulous. And I'm going to go with the anyone over the age of 18 who is a citizen can vote. What is one responsibility that is only for United States citizens? Today I'm feeling jury duty, right? But also voting. Hey, what is one right only for United States citizens? We'll go with voting again. And what are 2 ways that Americans can participate in their democracy? Excellent. Talking to your elected representatives, becoming an elected representative, and always, always, always voting. Okay. Episode 3, name one branch or part of the government. You could have said judicial, executive, or legislative. What stops one branch of government from becoming too powerful? We call that our system of checks and balances. Who is in charge of the executive branch? That's the president. Who makes federal laws? That is our legislative branch, also known as Congress. And what are the 2 parts of U.S. Congress? We have the Senate and the House of Representatives. Right, episodes 4's test questions. How many U.S. senators are there? 50. How long is a senator in the Senate? They're elected for 2 years. And who is one of your state's senators now? We looked that up on senate.gov. The House of Representatives has how many voting members? Excellent. And how many years do we elect our US representatives for? Fantastic. You looked up your US representative on house.gov. And what was a name of one of your representatives? Lovely. What does the president's cabinet do? They advise the president on their specific area of specialty. And what are 2 cabinet level positions? We call them secretaries. I'm going to say the Secretary of Defense and the Secretary of Labor. All right, episode 5. Who does a U.S. Senator represent? Everyone in their state. Very good. And why do some states have more representatives than others? Because of population. Okay? They have more people and they get more representatives. We elect a president for how many years? 4. Very good. And in what month do we vote for president? November. Very good. What is the name of the president of the United States right now? And that is Mr. Donald Trump. And the name of the vice president right now? That is Mr. J.D. Vance. Oh my gosh, we got through it all. There we go. That wasn't too bad, y'all. Pass this test, my friends. But don't forget to keep your roots. Together, let's make a better America. See you next time.